This is Good Morning San Diego.
The Menendez brothers could soon be walking free after serving more than 30 years in prison. Their case is being reviewed for possible resentencing next month by the LA District Attorney. Joining me now to discuss the criminal case is defense attorney Vikas Bajaj. Vic has been on the national cable talk shows, and the reason why you're here is I saw your comment about what you think should happen in this case, and I called Tommy. I said, Tommy, I want to have a head-to-head with Vic.
Okay, I'm ready.
So could you, basically you said they should be out of jail.
They should, absolutely, and there's many reasons for that, not the least of which is the trial judge in the second trial excluding evidence that should have been at least discussed or contemplated by the jury. The allegations of sexual and physical abuse. So if we recall in the first case, that evidence came in. The first case resulted in a mistrial for a variety of reasons. The second time, the trial judge says, well, you know what, I'm not buying it. I don't believe it. I'm not going to allow the jury to even look at it or listen to it while they're making their decision as to whether first-degree murder, the premeditation, intentional murder, should be lessened to, for instance, voluntary manslaughter, which is still a death, but it's justified to a certain extent by other factors.
How much is the role is the Netflix documentary, which, listen, it's very well done, but it's very tilted in favor of the Menendez brothers. It reminds me of the Making of the Murder documentary with the I can't remember the guy's name in Wisconsin, but right. The same deal where they twisted the facts in favor of the person doing time. Right. How much of that is factoring into the public discourse, which is affecting all the defense groups, which is affecting the DA?
It's hard to tell. What came first, the chicken or the egg, Paul, right? I mean, because we know that the litigation, the petition for what we call the writ of habeas corpus, which is outside the legal appeal, but it's basically saying, hey, judge, take a look at the body of the case. That's been going on for 18 months, and the Netflix series has been released after that period of time. Does it have an effect? Yes.
Absolutely.
But this is also the Menendez brothers case, and we can talk about this 20 years from now, and it has that infamy attached to it.
But I was old enough to remember it at the time, and I remember there was testimony about how they were pathological liars. I remember they went on a shopping spree right after their parents were murdered, and that the big concern was that their father was going to write them out of the will. They unloaded a shotgun off into both mom and dad. I mean, so now they're going to claim that they were sexually abused and hopes of getting off because the rules have been lightened?
Now, Paul, you've highlighted an exceptional point, which is all of that fodder should have been presented to the jury in cross-examination. You've just created and presented a very eloquent and effective cross-examination. But the problem is in the second trial, the judge says, I'm not even going to let that in. I'm not going to let the jury even discuss it. So all that cross-examination really doesn't matter. Please don't forget, we're not talking about what's right and wrong, what fits into the world of academia, the elements of the offense, and what should be allowed and shouldn't be allowed. There's also the court of public opinion. There's also the practical nature when you have your finger on the pulse of what's happening in the community. At the time, before the second case came around, there was a huge public uproar because of some recordings that came out of specifically Lyle Menendez talking to an individual who was recording and interpreting those things. And that public opinion pressure was so severe, a judge really had to go against the grain to allow this information in. So that's the X factor that we can talk about in the world of criminal prosecution.
Other than the circumstantial evidence of that letter and then of the one boy band person who later accused the deceased father of sexual abuse, is there any concrete evidence of sexual abuse in this case? Concrete.
Well, when you say concrete, do you mean video, audio?
Is there anything, I mean, I guess what I'm saying is I always hear in your world, oh, that's circumstantial. Well, isn't that letter a circumstantial piece of evidence? How much weight should that be given?
It should be given as much weight as direct evidence. In the jury instructions in California and every state in the union, direct evidence, corroborated evidence, as you call it, has the same weight and admissibility as circumstantial evidence. But query, Paul, let me ask you just a question. If, in fact, direct corroborated evidence was needed for every allegation of sexual or physical abuse, we would not have these prosecutions. Why? And this is the most important thing. These happen in the depths of darkness within and behind closed doors.
Fair enough. I'm over, so I need a real short answer here. What's to prevent anybody who's guilty of murder from just claiming that they were sexually abused and using this, what I would call an angle to get out of it?
You have to have some theory of threshold of admissibility, some proof, either circumstantial or direct. Here we have another individual who said the person may have been a sexual predator, and an 8-month prior letter saying, you know what, Dad's doing these bad things to me. You have to have at least a meeting of a certain threshold.
All right, coming back, Vic, thank you so much. I think you're right. They're going to be released, right? I mean, that's...
If the District Attorney Gascon is going to be consistent, they must be released sooner rather than later. Absolutely.
The core group that support him.